think I shared this thought relatively recently, that if you compare the standard of living that we all have now to even the richest people, the superpowers of even anything up to, 150, 200 years ago, we live with more comfort than they did. Like Cleopatra, right, didn't have half the comfort that you have. Julius Caesar didn't have the comfort and ease of transport that you have. I mean, you know when you have to pile the kids into the car and get them all to mass, oh, I don't want to sit in the car is so small. Or you want to go on a horse and trap. Remember that? Well, you don't know. Obviously, my dad when he was a young fella, he used to deliver milk on a horse and trap, so he'd go on to all the local houses, and the horse actually knew which houses got Cal milk. So the horse would stop at the right house, we bring in the 2 bottles or whatever it was. So, but that's not that long ago. That's within living memory. The comfort that we live in now, Wi-Fi. Again, back in the day, when there would be encyclopedia salesmen who'd go around and try and sell a whole set of encyclopedias to a family, and that was the only the font of knowledge you had. That was it. Whereas now you just Google it and get 17 opinions on whatever you want. So the access we have to information, indoor plumbing. What a gift! Hot water on demand, cushy sofas, furry socks, all those kind of things. You think they had them back in the day? No, they did not. Canvas bags was all they had. So the comfort that we have now is far greater than at any time in history, even the richest of the rich. I mean, the richest of the rich went to the bathroom in a bucket and tossed it in. Well, let's not go into the details, but you get the point. It wasn't pleasant. But this is all the kind of comfort we have now. The problem with comfort is it can kind of distract us, because it can make us a bit soft, if I'm honest. It can make us a bit unprepared to make sacrifices. Whereas I think generations gone by, especially when it came to Lent and that, they were used to making sacrifices anyway. Sacrifice was part of your daily stale bread. The sacrifice was just the way things went. Yeah, it's just part of life. You got your brother's old shoes. They weren't your size. That doesn't matter. You'll stretch them. So the sacrifice was just part of life, part and parcel. For us, sacrifice, it still comes our way, but when it comes to food, and it comes to many of these things that we should be giving up for Lent, screens and things, it doesn't come naturally to us, because life has become so comfortable, and we've become so soft and so dependent on these things. My goodness, you turn the Wi-Fi off and it's like there's been a natural disaster. People walk around moping in sackcloth and ashes and canvas, but the Wi-Fi is off. Practically dying. You're having a near-death experience because the Wi-Fi dropped for 5 minutes. So it definitely softens us. And then you read something like this: my brothers, you will always have your trials, but when they come, try to treat them as a happy privilege. It's written by St. James. It's our first reading today. Now, when St. James wrote that, you keep in mind what kind of trials he's talking about. He's not talking about you might have to miss a meal every now and again, or he's not talking about, as I say, Wi-Fi being down or buses being late or something. He's talking about people seeking to kill you. He's talking about having to have a wonderful day's preaching when people are listening and maybe working miracles and all sorts of things, but then others are plotting against you, and he will ultimately give his life beheaded. He will shed his blood for Christ, he will die for Christ. So when he talks about trials, he's talking about proper, real trials. And I love that, because that's the kind of thing that makes our faith so tangible and so real. He's not talking about blasé things, but things that really matter. So when any of you have experienced loss, bereavement, real illness, separation, having to move jobs, or where you just feel like a bit lost, or having to start again, or the fear of someone being diagnosed with cancer or a tumor, whatever it may be, and these real trials. This is what he's talking about. The faith isn't just for people who want to skip through fields singing Kumbaya. This is real stuff, real people going through real problems. So he knows what he's talking about. He lived it. You will always have trials, but when they come, try to treat them as a happy privilege. Now, either of those are hard. Treat them as a privilege, a begrudging privilege we can probably kind of manage. I can begrudgingly accept my cross and see it as a privilege. But as a happy privilege, that's very difficult. I think part of the reason we find these things difficult to treat our crosses as a happy privilege is sometimes you kind of want people to know you're miserable. Sometimes you kind of want people to know you're carrying a cross, and then they'll say, "Are you okay?" "No, I'm okay. I am." "Oh, no, you're not. Sit down, have a cup of tea. You want a cup of slice of tart now? You're all right. Come on, let's talk." Do you know? And then you get, it's kind of nice to talk because everyone's listening. So at times we want people to know we're carrying a cross, and that's why this bit's hard. It's a happy privilege, carrying your trials or crosses happily. Then people don't know. And no one is going to offer you consolation or comfort because you look fantastic, you're happy out. And that's what I've seen, like in people who are properly holy. That's how I've seen them carry their crosses. They carry them in such a way, if you didn't know the background story, you'd never know what they're going through. You'd never know what they're carrying. You'd never know how much they suffer because they do so with such joy. And it is a high bar. It is a very high bar. It's a bar I don't think I've reached yet. Anyway, definitely not. To carry your sufferings in such a way that no one knows you're suffering. Now, okay, the other extreme we've mentioned this a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, to be careful that when it comes to interior sufferings, we're not just supposed to, as we said, bruise it down through you, just forget about it, push it down, ignore it, it's all grand, just get on with things, you'll be fine. Your crosses don't actually matter. Your needs don't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. Your feelings definitely don't matter. So push all that aside and just muscle on, all right? Man up. That's not what the Lord is asking us to do here, by the way. So when he asks us to suffer things see them as a happy privilege, see, it's a happy privilege to do what? To suffer with and for Christ. So we have him to relate to, him to talk to, him to draw from, that we live through him, with him, and in him. So it's not being turned into yourself and just having to push it all down and just muscle on yourself as if all the effort had to come only from you. That's not what the Lord is saying. He wants to walk with us. So he's saying, "Come to me, all you who labor and overburdened, and I will give you rest." So you suffer. Now, many of our sufferings will be silent. People won't know. People won't see. Maybe those who know us better might be able to read the signs. They might, he looks a bit off today now. And they because they know you. And then there may be 1 or 2, 3 people that you might be able to confide in. The vast majority of other people, your acquaintances, or these days, people we call friends, but are actually acquaintances, they won't know us, so they won't know really what's going on. It's okay to have someone to confide in. We don't kind of play the martyr. "Oh no, I don't want to talk, it's fine." There was someone in the house a couple of years ago, and they were great. Whenever they'd go up for seconds for dinner and all the dinner was gone. "Oh, it's all right. It's fine. I'll just unite it silently to the cross. I'll just, unite it silently." You've just told the whole world that you're uniting it silently, do you know what I mean? So that's kind of a discreet way of actually drawing attention to the fact that you're making a sacrifice and things. So one extreme, is to just push it all down. But then the danger there is that you're relying on your own strength. What we should do is know that whatever cross I'm carrying it through the Lord's grace. Through the Lord's grace. And this is where the blessing comes, because it means that in those moments of loneliness, loss, bereavement, grief or bereavement, that they actually draw me to him. They draw me closer to his heart. And if I can live that, then it doesn't actually matter what the world throws at me. It doesn't matter what goes wrong. It doesn't matter if, like St. James, you're living every day with your life in danger. It doesn't matter. It's still hard. A cross is still a cross. A cross is still a cross. But the cross has purpose. The cross has meaning. The cross has value. And so that's this sweet yoke that the Lord is talking about. My yoke is easy and my burden light. He doesn't say you've no yoke. And just for those who don't know what a yoke is, You may have seen on some very old movies where you see people ploughing with animals or with oxen, and they have this big, it's a wooden beam with kind of the various latches and straps on it, and you tie it onto the front of an animal, so that's what pulls the plough. So it's a big wooden heavy beam. Has to be strong enough that a bull or 2 oxen can pull it and it won't snap. So it's a heavy, substantial piece of timber. So my yoke is easy and my burden light. If anyone who knew farming back in the day would say, well, yokes aren't very pleasant. I mean, they're heavy, they're rough, they stink, they smell of bull. They're not nice, they're not pleasant. And of course, also they're not made for us, they're made for animals. So like they don't fit, they're just, it's all wrong. It feels degrading or something. So when you're, but the Lord doesn't say, you will have no, come follow me and you will have no yoke. And life will be easy and burden free. And the Wi-Fi will never go out. He doesn't say that, ever. But he says, my yoke is easy and my burden light. But there is a burden. There is a cross. In the world you will have trouble, but fear not, for I have overcome the world. You will have trouble. So there's a battle in these words, because like there's this part of us that just very simply and humanly and understandably doesn't want to suffer. I get it. I'm human too. I don't want to. We don't like it. Do you know there's a reason we put on slippers? I don't put on slippers. Maybe the reason you put on slippers in the evenings when you're walking around the house, like, they're comfortable. We don't want to suffer. Okay? We don't want to. Again, it's human. It's kind of normal. Please don't seek suffering. So it's normal for us to kind of rebel against that suffering. And then in suffering, like our will takes a bit of a hammering, because I want to stop this. I want to have control over my life. I want to have control over the person who's causing me suffering, maybe. I want like the power to be able to direct things that I don't have to suffer. And then your faith is telling you, but like, trust in the Lord. I want to trust in the Lord, but I want this to stop as well. So if His will and my will were able to align, that'd be great. And I mean, His will should move. It's like Italian driving, You're going to move. No, I'm not. You're going to move. It's So instead of saying, Lord, may it be done unto me according to your word. May it be done to me according to your word. Jesus, I trust in you. And if when the dust of that battle settle in our hearts and we're able to say, Lord, I honestly, I don't like this. This is difficult. But I trust you. I trust you. And I know I'm not alone in this. And not only that, but I know that because of this difficulty or suffering, I'm actually getting to know your heart. I'm getting to know you better. I'm learning to grab onto you. I'm learning to hold on. I'm learning to draw from you. I'm learning to be consoled by you. I'm learning to be led by you, because I don't have this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. But you do. And then you begin to kind of taste that sweetness of the cross and see it as a happy privilege. But again, this is very realistic. This is very rooted in your daily experience. It's not you have to attain some level of sort of mysticism and then somehow you kind of breathe through life and suffering's come your way and you say, yes, Lord, I shall accept this suffering. And that one too. Yes, okay, no problem at all. And then I just breathe through life, and then they decapitate me, there's the neck, off you go, and then I die and I go back up to the Lord. Lord, thank you so much, good to be here. Like that's not it. Your humanity will struggle. And the fear, even the Lord himself experienced in the Garden of Olives, like, Father, let this chalice pass me by. But not my will, but yours be done. So even like the Lord's humanity, again, it's just fearful of what the cross costs. And yet the knowledge that whatever his Father allows, whatever his Father permits, has a meaning, has a purpose, and has an immense value. So the Lord does know what he's doing, and the closer we come to his heart, the more we can begin to experience that consolation that only He can give. And if this works, if the Lord is guiding us, which He is, and if we're following the Lord's guidance, we'll begin to see how so many other things that we considered important before fall by the wayside until there's only Him. And in Him then, we can truly love those around us. Husbands, wives, children, parish, whatever. There's kind of this pruning, this peeling back of what's not necessary until there's only Him, when He becomes our all in all. And then in Him, in whom we live and move and have our being, then we learn to love. We learn to love. We learn to love freely. We ask the Lord today to teach us to carry our crosses, to teach us to carry them silently for the most part. We ask Him also in His mercy to provide friends and people who can support us and walk with us and know our hearts. We ask that this passage from St. James, that it may not just be nice words or aspirations for other people, but that we can live them, that we can be the saints of our day. My brothers, you will always have your trials, but when they come, try to treat them as a happy privilege. You understand that your faith is only put to the test to make you patient. But patience too is to have its practical results, so that you will become fully developed, complete, with nothing missing. Christ will be our everything.